In the past, wars were common activities between societies seeking to maintain power. But behind some of these battles, there are great mysteries that remain unsolved. Mysterious disappearances that today represent incredible stories, but at the time, they were a tragic event. Prepare yourself, because in the following video, we will talk about some armies that disappeared mysteriously, leaving no traces. Number 5. The Mystery of Nanking. It occurred on December 10, 1939. This event originated after a horrendous aggression by the Japanese Army against the Republic of China. Against this backdrop, Colonel Li Fuxian ordered the placement of almost 3,000 Chinese soldiers to defend the bridge over the Yangtze River. The next morning, however, he would see something that would paralyze him. They had lost all contact with the battalion on the bridge. Everything was unprotected, without soldiers, weapons, or any other trace of life. The strangest thing was that no battle had taken place. No one had crossed the bridge. As the days went by, and after a series of investigations, no one who guarded the bridge was contacted. At the end of the war, it was reported that almost 3,000 men had mysteriously disappeared. Number 4. Archduke Charles Habsburg formed a battalion with more than 4,000 men willing to fight against Philip V's army. This occurred in 1707 during the War of the Spanish Succession. The group of soldiers had a very narrow path in the Pyrenees. There, they were going to be located to initiate the attack, but in the end, they could not arrive because it was the last instant where they were seen. They left no traces, registers, armaments, traces of a battle, bodies, or any other element. Both their equipment and the bodies mysteriously disappeared. Number 3. The Lost Army of Cambyses. Around this disappearance, which happened in 525 BC and involved 50,000 soldiers, the story centers on Herodotus, a king who sent this massive number of people into a battle to finish off the rebellious Egyptians. They were located at the Oracle of Ammon at the western end of the Siwa Oasis. The king affirmed that this enormous army never managed to reach its destination, and on the contrary, it was swallowed up by the desert. There is no clear theory about this disappearance. One says that during their journey, there was a strong sandstorm that covered them and devoured 50,000 people. Archaeologists from around the world have gathered around this story to find them. Number 2. The Battle of Saigon. The Battle of Saigon took place in 1858, specifically in French Cochin, China, a former colony where the nation of Vietnam is now located. This mysterious disappearance was carried out by 650 Zouavi soldiers who had to reach the capital of Saigon. The surprising thing about this disappearance is that after it happened, there were no traces, clues, or evidence of any confrontation. This happened a few kilometers from their destination, and today it remains a mystery. There was no confrontation, ambushes, or anything to explain this disappearance. Behind this team of soldiers was another battalion, only 2 kilometers away. They claimed they didn't see or hear any signs of war that validate their demise, at least in a confrontation with the enemy. Number 1. The Gallipoli Disappearance. The Battle of Gallipoli, also known as the Dardanelles Campaign, took place in the Turkish peninsula of Gallipoli. At that time, the events of the First World War were taking place. It is considered the most famous disappearance, and it happened to the Norfolk Regiment, a team of British men who went on a mission to help Russia in battle. In its initial outpost, there were 400 soldiers fully prepared and ready to fight. They entered Turkish lands in the direction of Mount Sayberry. About 200 meters away, they began to visualize a very strange and not very peculiar large cloud. On its way, the cloud began to take over the battalion, generating a strange event: the disappearance of 400 men. A few days later, something similar happened with the 5th Norfolk Regiment. On this occasion, there were 250 soldiers who disappeared as they entered a very dense wooden area. Zero Zone. In the world, we find places with very spooky stories, such as the case of the Alaskan Triangle, that for some is even deadlier than the famous Bermuda Triangle. This place first received widespread attention when U.S. House Majority Leader Hale Boggs' airplane vanished in 1972. The disappearance triggered one of the country's largest ever search and rescue operations, involving 40 military aircraft, 50 civilian planes, and 39 days of searching an area of 32,000 square miles. Yet, the search yielded not a shred of results. No wreckage, no debris, no human remains. Nothing. In this place, something happens, but it has not been possible to determine what it is. Since 1988, more than 16,000 disappearances have been reported in this area. Each mysterious disappearance leaves a huge void. Although many of these disappearances happened decades and millennia ago, they remain unsolved cases today. The truth has never been discovered beyond speculation or assumptions. In the face of these scenarios of uncertainty and total ignorance, we can come up with anything. Some believe that aliens have been with us for millions of years. Also, that natural phenomena, something difficult to explain at the time, could have contributed to the mysterious disappearances. What do you think?